Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights, Canadian Women in Tech and Business, where we highlight the incredible journeys of inspiring women who are shaping the future of technology and business in Canada. Today, we have the honor of speaking with another trailblazer, Alyson Walker. Alyson Walker is the former Chief Commercial Officer at Overactive Media, a global esports organization dedicated to building successful franchises and creating unparalleled fan experiences. Alyson will soon be starting her new role as Senior VP at Waserman. In her previous role, Alyson oversaw business and audience growth through global partnerships, marketing, content, PR, and events, and managed business operations at OMA. Alyson brings a wealth of experience in the sports and entertainment industries with a proven track record of success and leadership in her previous roles. She was the vice president of brand partnerships and client strategy at Bell Media, where she focused on developing content and data solutions for advertisers across Canada's top media properties and platforms. Before before Bell Media, Alyson led the network and broadcast teams at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, working with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Raptors, and Toronto FC. Her earlier career includes significant contributions to Canadian amateurs sport at the Canadian Olympic Committee, where she led sponsorships, sales and service, merchandise licensing, and commercial rights management. Alyson played a key role in bringing the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Games to Canadians by leading digital sales and brand partnerships with Canada's Olympic broadcast uh, consortium. She also serves as the board for WISE Toronto, where she empowers women to succeed in the business of sports with the tools to reach their career goals. Alyson, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Berlin. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. So maybe you could start by sharing with us a bit about how you started in sports and entertainment industries and what motivated you to pursue a career in this field.
Yeah, great. I'd love to chat a little bit about this, and hopefully this will help people understand that you don't need to know exactly what you want to do when you're going into university and even along the way, because there certainly wasn't a specific plan. I was lucky to have played some high level sports,
Mhm.
but I did a science degree at McGill University and maybe thought I was going to be a doctor. And at the end of the day, that wasn't the path that I chose. And so had an opportunity to do some traveling, which was just amazing through Southeast Asia and Europe, also very important to my story and who I am as a person. And then my first real job was in the travel industry, which was also incredible to learn about high level service, to work with fabulous people, to learn how good organizations are run. And then I chose to go to the Rotman School of Management to do my MBA, which was also certainly a great choice for me, a trajectory changer. Out of my MBA, I was lucky enough to get one of the roles in a generalist program at RBC in capital markets and investment banking. And while I loved the thrill of it, I knew that I probably needed to be in a more creative industry. But it really solidified my desire to drive revenue and drive impact.
Mhm.
And so where I ended up was in media, which will get me back to sport or to sport. I joined Chum Television, which doesn't exist today, but was the original City TV, Much Music. And my job was really about diversifying revenue streams, which will be a theme of this conversation.
Mhm.
Go in there and traditional advertising sales existed, but how do we leverage these brands like a Much Music, like a City TV to drive, further engagement for consumers and revenue? And so that was pretty amazing along the way, as happened in media. Consolidation started to happen. And CTV, it was really Bell Globe Media purchased Chum and very quickly acquired the rights to the Vancouver and London Olympics. And so the minute I saw that happening in my organization, I went to the boss, who is now the boss of MLSE, Keith Pelly, and I said, I need to work. I need to work for the Olympics. I
Mhm.
love sport. And so the loving sport is not enough to work and be successful in sport. But I had now solidified an expertise in digital media, digital marketing. And ultimately, it took me a year to convince them that I was the person. And they hired me into their group to lead the digital sales efforts and the partnerships, the things we did to execute with partners across all of our digital platforms for the Vancouver Olympics. And that was really the beginning of my sports and business career.
Mhm. That's so wonderful to hear. And it sounds like you've had a great journey. And I was just wondering, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your former role as Chief Commercial Officer at Overactive Media and kind of talking about, some of your key responsibilities that you handled in overseeing business and audience.
Yeah. So Overactive was so interesting. It's a bit of a fast forward. I had a number of experiences from the one I just described to Overactive, which are all fundamental to your ability to be effective and build strong organizations. This opportunity for me was to go from a larger organization, Bell Media, to a much smaller entrepreneurial shop. The opportunity was completely new, while the business was not completely new. So the
Mhm.
thesis for us, for our leadership team, was let's emulate the success in traditional sport, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, with franchise leagues. The game publishers themselves own the leagues, and we were the franchise holders. So we bought a number of esports franchises. The one that's sort of most known to the mass market is Call of Duty. And so we were the only Call of Duty team in all of Toronto, pardon me, in all of Canada. And the thesis made sense. There are hundreds of millions of people that game across the world. It's global. And so we went in to build a successful global organization where instead of basketball, football, hockey being the product, it was really about esports teams, games, all very similar from a business standpoint. And so we set out to build out an organization with a strong culture. It is evolving, and it's different because all of a sudden, because you're digitally native, we went on post COVID, of course, to have host live events, but you need a ton of social media expertise. We were producing content on a daily basis. We really needed to be relevant to our core Gen Z fans, which was
Mhm.
so fascinating, all of it. So I was leading, as you said in the intro, I got to lead all of our sales and partnerships efforts. We brought in Bell as our founding partner, which was pretty amazing. We ultimately signed TD as an amazing partner in a bank category, which was unheard of in the esports space. Red Bull and others, just really great partners. We put on live events after COVID at the Mattamy Athletic Center, sold out 4-day events, just highly charged, highly engaged, really entertaining events. And so I got to lead this amazing group of people who were creating a new entertainment property essentially across all of the functions, including HR, IT, operations. And the organization is really successful today and carries on. And most of them are just all friends of ours, and cheer them on from the sidelines.
That's great to hear. And you made some really great points about, handling that audience and, Gen Z and, just dealing with that and figuring out, what works, what doesn't. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of branching off of that, as VP of brand partnerships and client strategy at Bell Media, you focused on developing content and data solutions for advertisers. What are some of the most significant challenges and also achievements that you faced during your time there?
Yeah, so I mean, Bell Media is a fabulous organization with so many properties, so many opportunities for brands to connect with consumers across, of course, sports through TSN, more traditional channels and properties like CTV, still radio, certainly when I was there, it's still an important platform, and of course, all of them across digital, out of home, et cetera. So again, back to the theme of diversifying revenue streams, naturally, brands are still advertising in traditional ways and new ways. And we were charged with finding new ways to again connect partners to consumers. And so our role was to integrate brands into shows. One of my favorites, of course, was The Amazing Race Canada. All of that work. I know John Montgomery personally. He's the host. He was an Olympian, of course, won gold in Vancouver. It's been such a great show, and takes a lot of work to integrate brands into shows. You've got a lot of representatives on their side. You want to do it authentically. You want to make sure consumers still love the show without it feeling like an ad in the middle of your show. And so we did that on a daily basis across so many different properties. Equally interesting, of course, was we had access to Bell's first party data, we call it. So set-top box data, when you're watching television, it's all, of course, de-anonymized. So you don't know who the people are.
Mhm.
But you look at the aggregate of set-top box data and mobility data. And while somebody is watching, so let's use an example like the Super Bowl, which is on CTV, and when someone's watching Super Bowl, you can connect what they're doing on their phone. And so if there's a Toyota ad, then and they're scrolling for Toyota, we call that attribution. You can say it, your ad is working. Someone's seeing your ad within a program, and they're then actually interested in looking further into it. And it's really part of the marketing mix, and it's part of the marketing funnel where you're taking someone down this conversion funnel from awareness to considering to actually conversion, i.e. purchasing something. So
Yeah.
that was really new and fantastic work. You could drive insights. Advertisers now had a better understanding of what consumers were doing as it related to the investment they were making in advertising. So lots of really great work. Again, a fabulous group of teams there, and really having an impact on business, and not just spending money and investing, but seeing a return on that investment.
Yeah, that's really great. And I think that actually leads perfectly into my next question. How did your work at Bell Media prepare you for your role at Overactive Media, particularly in terms of strategic development and audience engagement?
Yeah. So all of my roles prepared me for Overactive, and Overactive prepared me for my next journey I'm about to take on with Wasserman. Um, the the most important thing I would say is your people and your organization. And so when you get to be on great teams and have great leaders, and then when you get to lead great teams, you really learn how to create the most productive and safe and enjoyable environment for your employees, and how to really build culture. And so all of my roles led to that being a really important piece for us at Overactive Media. We wanted to be a place where people love to come to work or be at work post-pandemic, be
Mhm.
part of a team. And so that was point number one. On the audience side of things, it's really important in an organization, in all organizations today, to be able to, of course, drive top line revenue, but be very efficient about how much money you spend against that. And so when you are marketing and trying to figure out how to grow your audience, you could spend a lot of money producing content, producing merchandise, hiring more people. You want to be really efficient about how you do that so that ultimately you're profitable. We took Overactive Media public as a company, and your shareholders really want to see returns on their investments. So in order to do that, you need growing revenue, and you need to keep your expenses really contained. And so one of the things I think we did very well was focus on research around who is our fan, who's the core fan. The core fan is usually the easiest to identify. And then as you build out, you want to figure out, okay, who's the casual fan? Who would enjoy engaging with us, whether online or in person, that aren't necessarily players of the game or people that are right in the direct ecosystem of, in the example I gave earlier, Call of Duty. We were involved in other games as well, Overwatch, League of Legends, Valorant. But the focus on how do we convert fans that really love to be a part of what we call the intersection of gaming, sports, music, lifestyle. Those are your next sort of circle of fans.
Mhm.
And then you really want to focus on what are the best ways to reach those fans. And today, in these days, often it's through digital and social media, of course.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Um, so at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, you led network and broadcast teams for your major sports franchises. Can you share some of your memorable experiences or projects from your time with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, and the Toronto FC? I'm really curious to, hear about
Yeah.
this.
Well, MLSE again, quite privileged, another amazing organization, and always, of course, at the forefront of our city in Toronto because everybody is watching closely to see how our teams are doing. I was really fortunate to join a leader who came in by the name of Tim Lewicki. He's an American who came, spent a couple of years here, and really had a very quick and swift impact. A couple of things I was able to be a part of and lead. From a content perspective, that was a time when Jurassic Park and Maple Leaf Square was really starting to build that fandom outside the arena. Was
Right.
really so great because there are only so many seats inside the arena. And so to be able to build that up, to be able to bring our partners in and integrate partners into that, and to create just really awesome content that, again, is beyond just in the bowl, as we say, was pretty exciting. At that time, we were actually leading 3 network channels: NBA TV, Gold TV for soccer, and Leafs TV. And so we were creating unique content for those networks. Now it's become more efficient. Obviously, the focus is Sportsnet, TSN, and other streaming platforms. Um, and we were at that time, I mean, credit to Tim, he brought in Masai Ujiri, who obviously then went on to lead us to a championship win with the Raptors, Brendan Shanahan with the Leafs, who built this big, amazing team ish that we have today. And he was the one who built the Raptors practice facility, which has been a game changer for recruiting talent. And so just all really a focus on leadership. But one of the most interesting things that I led was this digitization, sort of enterprise digital strategy, which was focused on trying to connect disparate data sets. And so we didn't really know who was walking into the arena because, believe it or not, there was no mobile ticketing in 2014 when I joined. And so, and even if we did know, we didn't know what they were buying from an F&B standpoint. So hot dogs, beer, pop. And we didn't know who was walking into the shop and buying a jersey, not to mention all the content they were consuming online. And so the goal was to connect those data sets, which is a very difficult process and a very difficult thing to do. And so we embarked on a big project across the organization to connect that data, so that we talk a lot in our industry about having a single view of the fan. And so all of a sudden, you know that Berlin likes to come to Raptors games, but she doesn't go to Leafs games, that she buys a jersey once a year and she loves to drink Coca-Cola. And
Mhm.
so you can all of a sudden personalize the fan experience, and ultimately that's better for the fan and better for the organization because you're going to engage more with us. And so that was a really awesome project, and you learn a lot. That I would call that a transformative change management process that you learn a lot from. It's not easy, but it's really transformative for the org.
Yeah, that's great. And, really fascinating to hear how, you connected all those data points to kind of make the whole of, what this person likes versus what this person likes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, really cool. So you made some very significant contributions to Canadian amateur sport while at the Canadian Olympic Committee. What were some of your proudest moments or initiatives during your time there?
The CFC definitely, along with the Vancouver Olympics on the broadcast side, is near and dear to my heart, and I stay as close to all things Olympic as I can. That was an amazing time, certainly for me and for us. We very interestingly, when you come out of hosting a home games, many people said to me, well, partners, the financials dry up because the Olympics leave town. And so
Right.
what's left? And so we were charged with having to really change the paradigm around what the Olympic Committee stood for, because the games were gone and they weren't coming back for a long time. And so we really focused in on the team and the athletes at the heart of it, and the importance of that to Canadians and to culture and society in Canada. And the most important thing that we did as a team from 2010 onwards was create long-term sustainable partnerships that brought revenue into the organization. The Olympic Committee is not a government organization. It's largely funded by private enterprise. And so you have to go out to the corporate world and you have to get them to sponsor. There's a Canadian Olympic Foundation that brings in foundation dollars from philanthropy. And so we were able to renew and sign very significant partnerships with leading partners like RBC and Bell and Air Canada. And we shifted the focus of a massive category that the Hudson's Bay Company owned, and created partnerships with Canadian Tire and Adidas and Oakley, and really created new opportunity that most of which live on today. So
Mhm.
that was the most important thing. We made significant contributions as a result to the sports system for performance, which is
Mhm.
not the job of the COC, but certainly the contributions were so important. So I would say I'm most proud of that. Two other things. One was the game plan program with the Canadian Sport Institutes, with Deloitte as a lead partner, really focused on athletes transitioning out of sport. It's a competitive disadvantage for athletes when they're at their final games and they're stressed about what they're going to do with their lives. They get very distracted. And so we created this program in partnership with many great stakeholders where athletes are having guidance along the way and they can start to create a path. And ultimately, the Smith School of Business joined in and offers MBAs to certain athletes. And so it's a very, I would say, an industry leading program that we certainly were a part of starting and getting off the ground, and really, really powerful. And finally, the Canada Olympic Houses in London and Sochi. These are the places that the athletes are in the village that nobody's allowed in, so athletes can meet their family and friends, partners can gather, and Canadians can come together. And I'm sure it will be fabulous in Paris as well. Those were all really impactful and things that we did, and I'm very proud of all of them.
Yeah, that's really great. And, congratulations on all the success that you've had. In a way, it sounds like you're only getting started. So that's great to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you played a key role in bringing the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Games to Canadians. Can you discuss the challenges and successes of leading digital sales and brand partnerships for such a major event?
Yeah, so I'll just quickly run back to what you just said. It certainly wasn't me alone. It really takes massive team efforts to do all these things. And I've been surrounded by just the most amazing people above me and with me and on my teams. And so I wanted to make sure I said that. The consortium was, that really was, as I said earlier, really the trajectory changer for me. In 2010, interesting enough, iPads didn't exist. I mean, people don't necessarily use iPads so much anymore, but this was a new time, a new day for digital media and digital platforms. Streaming existed, but it wasn't the norm as it is today. And so brands were used to buying traditional advertising, radio, print, out of home, of course, television. But digital, while they were buying digital media, this was new for the Olympic Games, or newish. And so one of the biggest things we did as a consortium was stream every moment of the Olympic Games live. So everybody
Nice.
around the world could view it, and they viewed it on our website, the Olympic.ca. So that was a
Mhm.
massive undertaking. And again, a game changer in so many ways, because all of a sudden now you're not just trying to figure out where you watch something on a television channel, but you could watch it, any of it live on stream. Um, we did something really cool at the International Broadcast Center at the Games. All of the big media companies, today it's CBC, it's NBC, and globally there are tons of big media companies that come to help produce the games. We created a digital lounge, and we had a place where people could come through, and we had two massive televisions, one with a linear television feed you could
Mhm.
watch the games on, and the other with a digital stream. And they were exactly the same. And senior executives would walk through and they'd look at it and they'd really have a light bulb moment where they realized, oh my gosh, like things are
Mhm.
changing. It's not just television, it's digital. So that was another sort of iconic game changing moment that I got to be a part of, which was pretty awesome. And just developing new opportunities for partners. I've worked my whole career with brands and partners. They got to all of a sudden engage with a different or maybe complementary fan base on on our website and on our app, and all of a sudden you have all these new ways to create activations for partners. And that was pretty amazing. We did a post-game hockey show for RBC, which means their fans were watching, consumers were watching on television, and then we would tell them on TV, hey, go to this website, and we would continue those same analysts on a website behind the scenes. That's really complicated to do. And they would go, and then they would continue, because of course the Olympics are so busy that on TV you had to go on to the next event, but you can continue to watch the analysts talk about hockey on the website. So that was pretty amazing as a new activation we were able to do.
Oh my gosh, definitely. And I think we're already headed in this direction, but I think it would be great for our listeners to hear. What advice would you give to young women aspiring to be in certain leadership positions in sports, entertainment, um, and sports industries? And are there any particular challenges that you personally face that you think that they should be prepared for?
Oh, wow. I mean, I could go on and on about this one. In no particular order, you have to work hard if you want to be successful in any pursuit. And certainly in sports, there aren't endless jobs in sport in this country or even in the world. And you've always got to work hard. There's no doubt about it. And I would say take every single opportunity you can to take on more. It's not always the norm these days. People like to have flexibility and stay in their lane and focus on their job description. I always took every opportunity. I would do more. I worked very hard, and so yeah, that those are table stakes. One thing certainly I would say is try not to waste too much energy being stressed about what's next or what the plan is. And I know um, I know, I'm sure you, Berlin, worked very hard at school. I know it's very hard. I know there's a
Mhm.
lot of stress, and there's just so much energy taken up by that stress when what you're doing today, being present with working and gaining experience and meeting great people, it's all part of the journey, and you really don't need to know exactly what the journey is. I certainly didn't, and still don't, and I love that about it. In addition to working hard, do interesting things, have interesting stories to tell. I still tell stories about my 6 years of tree planting, my 3 years of traveling and working through Asia and Europe. I try to do interesting things today because ultimately, those are the stories you tell around the boardroom table or at dinners with clients. And so it's really important to do interesting things, and be interesting because that's who
Yeah.
people want to be around. I'd say always do your research and and share it. So when I jump on a call with someone that is new to me, whether I've asked them for the call or they've asked me, I make sure I know who I'm talking to. I make sure they know that I've done my research. Partly because then we don't have to talk about the things that are obvious. You can see everybody's experience online. You can see company profiles. But you can get right to really productive conversation. And I
Mhm.
make connections. I see that, they tree planted, therefore I start a conversation, and it really allows you to build a relationship faster. And it shows that you've put your time into researching and that their time is valuable. And the final thing, particularly for women, is join organizations, reach out for mentorship. It takes a collective, and my greatest strength comes from my colleagues and my mentors in the industry, the boards I sit on. Get involved, do it all. It's just so empowering, and you get so much from what all the work that you can do. And when you're doing the hard work and you're in the trenches and facing the challenges, because there are challenges every day,
Mhm.
you enjoy it because you're around great people you build strong relationships with, and you can reach out for help from those that you know very well.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. And I really agree with your point about, the only way to really make it far is to work hard. And it's simple, but it couldn't be more true. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So could you just tell me a little bit about your involvement in Wise Toronto and what are some important initiatives you spearhead as part of the board?
hmm Wise is a very special organization. I was fortunate to join as we were starting it. My good friend Lori Kepron at the NHL. NHL is a partner of Wise in the US. It's a chaptered organization, almost 30 chapters across North America. We're the only one in Canada. So Lori started this in Toronto, and a group of us jumped on board because we just spoke about it. Women and men are different on the field of play, are different in the workforce.
Mhm.
There's no doubt that traditionally, certainly in sports and media, there have been more men in senior levels and more men generally with opportunities. And we are trying very hard to support women, and create a network so you have that strength. We not just the strength and the network and the socializing, but the tools the guidance and the mentorship. And I think we've created a very special community, and every member counts. I mean, the board just guides it, but every member of this community really takes it to the next level. And I think if you talk to members, you would hear that the community as a whole and the things we do have had an impact on their careers. And so I'm very proud of all the work we do on the side of our desks as volunteers to gather this community of amazing women and men. Our allies are certainly a part of the community as well, to continue to advance women. There are countless statistics and realities around women self-selecting themselves out of roles that either in sports are too technical and they don't feel like they know the sport well enough, or they simply don't want to deal with the situation, or they just don't feel like they can advance any further. And
Mhm.
we really want to break down all of those things and continue to grow so that there are more women in senior roles in sport. And we're seeing those things happening today.
That's amazing. I have two more questions left for you. So
Right.
I think you kind of touched on this before, but what do you envision the future of sports and sports industry for Canada, but especially for women?
Yeah, the great thing today, I'm very lucky to also to sit on an advisory board with the Canadian Women in Sports. Um, we are really focused on commercializing women's professional sport. We released two white papers, two research reports. The first focused on the business case, because what has traditionally happened, you probably would have heard, is sort of traditionally we hear, oh, nobody's watching women's sports. And then people start to watch. And then we hear, well, there's not really a return on my investment. And so we were out to prove that there's a massive return on your investment.
Mhm.
And then the second one that we released this spring was really about who the fan is. Brands and companies that are investing want to understand the demographics and psychographics and behavioral characteristics of the fan to connect those with their brand objectives.
Mhm.
And so we've done quite a bit of work to try to advance the fundamentals around women's sport. And now, of course, we're seeing we have, of course, the PWHL professional hockey. We've got the Northern Super League launching next year, and we've got a WNBA team in Toronto launching in 26. So this is incredible. The name of our initiative is It's Time. It's certainly time. And it's a new day. And so all of a sudden, I would say the future is extremely bright for women on the field of play, for women in it, to work with those organizations, to lead those organizations, and more broadly, women executives in all sports, men's, women's, across the board. I think there's huge opportunity. There's also huge opportunity with those peripheral organizations that support all of the teams and the leagues and the brands, like Canadian Women in Sport, like the Collective, which is part of Wasserman, the group I'm joining. They're focused specifically on the advancement of women's sport. And so there's huge opportunities across the board, I think, for women and women's sports. And finally, here in Canada as well, I'm so excited to just to support and continue to push this whole thing forwards.
Yeah, that's so incredible to hear, and I really can't wait to see what happens in the future for Canadian women in sports and women in general as well. So I have one last question for you, and this is actually my favorite question to ask people because I just love hearing how everyone has a different answer to it. But what legacy do you hope to leave in the sports world, and how do you want to be remembered?
It's a great question, and something we think about as we advance in our careers. For me, I think the key word is impact. I want to be able to say that I was part of having an impact on people, number one, for sure. I've always been a leader who empowers and wants to see the people on my team take over my job and the organization. And I think I've had such great teams along the way, and they are all becoming leaders of great organizations. And that for that, I'm very proud. And really, to me, that's a societal impact. You're creating great national leaders in your country, and so that's the most important thing. On women, absolutely, having played a number of sports and watched the challenges that women face, both as athletes and then in the boardroom, as we say. I believe there's so much potential that doesn't get realized. It's getting better. And so I spend all of my free time trying to support and advance and grow women that are, in many cases, so much more capable than I am, and sometimes just need a little bit of encouragement. And I have a recent case in some of the work I've been doing in women's sport recently, where I'm quite optimistic that we're going to find an investment into women's sport from a friend of mine, and I brought all that together, and that's real impact, which is fabulous. On companies as a whole having an impact, we grew Overactive Media to be a global leading esports organization. We I believe put the COC on such a strong trajectory moving forward. We changed how MLSE engages with fans. We changed how advertisers could engage with consumers at Bell Media, and so that to me is having an impact. And for that, I'm very proud. And hopefully, this conversation, there are a few tidbits that also have an impact. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a wonderful answer, and thank you so much for joining me today. Your journey in the sports and entertainment industries and also your former role at Overactive Media has been really inspiring to hear. And, all the best of luck to you with your new role at Waserman. We really appreciate you sharing your vision and all your experiences. And I'm really excited to see all the new developments in sports. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Berlin. I look forward to watching you succeed and all of your friends and peers, and I look forward to helping out along the way.
Yeah, thank you so much.